tears drenched my teacher's white blouse. I was a 17-year-old girl, burned out, not burning bright. I couldn't express my struggle in words, but my strengths revealed my weaknesses. I was the baccalaureate soloist, graduation speaker, swept the senior awards ceremony. I was skilled at juggling a dozen activities, but I was stretched thin in just as many directions. I was the high school equivalent of the EGOT. Heard of it? Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, Tony. To the audience, it was impressive. But behind the scenes, it was frantic, and there was no one to yell, "Cut." I was just a girl, balancing a dozen plates with desperate grace. And by all appearances, I was succeeding. But dig one layer deeper. I was physically exhausted and emotionally spent. On any given day, I had multiple canker sores due to stress. I cried under my blankets several nights per week. Depression. Walked through the door and then locked it. I was on a hamster wheel, justifying my worth and exceeding every expectation, external and internal. When I widened my lens, I realized this is the story of high achievers globally. We've been told that to be more, we must do more. But we are buckling under the weight of more. More roles, more tasks, more noise, more expectations, more invisible collapse. Because even nerves of steel can fray at the edges. Women are shouldering more than ever before. According to a Deloitte 2023 study, 35% of women surveyed globally rate their mental health as poor or very poor. 35%. That is the tax of more. Now, we learned how to add early in life. But when it comes to life math, we are not so great at subtraction. We are addition addicts. More TikTok, more Instagram, more Amazon, more Apple, more tech, and in Pasadena, more traffic. But what I started learning at 17 is that addition fragments us. But over time, I found subtraction is strength, and it's how we best arrive at resilience. A 2021 study published in Nature found that people instinctively add rather than subtract when tackling problems, even though reduction, subtraction, consistently works better. Subtraction is how we arrive at solutions that withstand new challenges. As an author and former executive speechwriter and journalist, I know that subtraction works. Because in writing, what we cut is even more important than what we keep. Stephen King famously said, "To write is human. To edit, divine." Cutting the excess reveals what's essential. It strengthens what remains. Because in communications, compression is how we achieve clarity and authority. Which means not only a message that lands, but also a message that endures. One of my favorite stories is when Michelangelo was asked how he would carve King David. Michelangelo replied, "I created a vision of David in my mind and then simply carved away everything that was not David." Not David. What's not David in our lives? That story taught me that reduction can be refinement, that something lovely emerges from strategic cuts. Because in sculpture, you don't create by adding, you reveal by removal. Now, as humans, this simple but counterintuitive truth about subtraction is something we literally embody. Now, we know our bones are alive, but did you know they grow through subtraction? Shedding their old tissue in order to grow new tissue. Without subtraction, bones become brittle and weak. Subtraction is how we live without breaking. Remember, subtraction is strategy. It's not surrender. It's how we best thrive. When we realize this, we actually create space for more meaning, more strength, more possibilities, which means a world with less overwhelm, less overload, less breaking down, because subtraction multiplies peace of mind. Now, I didn't fully grasp this at 17. The consequences of addiction followed me into college. I did well, but I didn't sparkle. My resilience had worn down. I was dulled too early. I thought I had pushed my body and mind to the brink at 17. But in the years to come, there were times I slipped over the edge. At 26, at 29, at 32, at 35. Every few years, I found myself in a state of collapse from the weight of more. My body started betraying me. There were episodes where I couldn't walk or stand. Times I forgot how to use a fork. Times I found myself crawling in a public parking lot, trying to reach my car. Or closer to home, crawling on my driveway to reach my front door. But you know what? After each of these repeated collapses, a simple truth began to emerge. Something that didn't belong was chipped away every time. Resilience isn't built by addition. Instead, we must clarify what matters, uncover what's most essential, and treasure what actually deserves our time. And then subtract accordingly. Because the weight of more is not ours to carry, not other people's expectations, not deeply embedded perfectionism, not relationships that drain, not activities that deplete rather than ignite. We start to grow even as what is not essential is chipped away, and we cherish what remains. Less is not loss. Thank you.